Peter, very good morning to you, sir.
Very good morning to you. I missed you last week.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't here. I was in America. Had
Yeah.
a great time. I must admit, I had a very good time in America. No matter what they tell you, it's still the land of the free and the home of the brave. And you can still go to a diner any time you like and have steak and eggs for breakfast, which is one of the greatest things to ever do. And unlimited cups of coffee, which you can't do here. You just can't get it right here, but never mind. What can I say? Where should we kick off? Should we start with the old migrant scenario once again? Shabana Mahmood. We've got a new Home Secretary who appears to be just as useless as the last Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper.
17 boats on Saturday.
Yeah.
And only one on Sunday.
Right.
So 18 boats with a total of 1,162 illegals.
Right.
Let me just emphasise that word, illegals, because foolishly I tuned into a different radio station, okay, not so long ago. And there was some leftist commentator and presenter having an absolute...
Well, tell us how great it is.
Having a socialist loving about how wonderful the UK was with our open borders and all that kind of tripe.
Somebody pointed out to me yesterday that the amount of people that came over at the weekend will cost us 40 million quid this year just to look after.
There you go.
40 million quid.
Yeah, it's astonishing, isn't it? Yeah. And of course, they refer to them as irregular.
Irregular, yes.
Irregular.
Yes.
Okay, so there I was, shouting at the radio just before I turned it off, of course. Right? Okay. And what I wanted to do, if I'd have been of a mind to, I would have rung up and rinsed both of them.
Yes.
Mainly by highlighting Section 3 of the Immigration Act 1971.
Okay.
Which is still in power.
Yes.
Okay, it's still a law.
Well, even though nobody uses it.
It's still a thing.
Right.
And it is a crime to enter the UK without leave to remain.
Yes.
None of those people on those boats have leave to remain. They are therefore committing a crime.
Yes.
And should I ever rule the world, the minute they land at Dover, they would be incarcerated, which would be a very good thing for razor wire manufacturers and the handlers of snarling Alsatians.
Yeah.
Okay, because they would be required to keep them detained because they've broken the law.
Yes.
Okay.
But hang on, you say detained, right? Isn't this exactly the same policy that Keir Starmer tells us he is carrying out? Because he says if you come here illegally, you will be detained.
Yes, prior to being one in, one out.
Right.
How much more nonsense shall we discuss that emanates from the man of the, quite simply, worst Prime Minister in my living history?
Yeah.
So once they were incarcerated... Oh, and what we need to do, by the way, when Starmer starts talking about using former military buildings and such like to keep these people in and all of that, what the lefties really don't want you to use is the word camps.
No, they don't like that word.
They're very, very delicate about that word. So they'll call them asylum centres or something. They'll give it some...
Yeah, they don't like the word. What's wrong with them? Why? I mean, you know, as we were saying yesterday, funnily enough, so they can't refer to Butlins holiday camp or Pontins holiday camp because it's a horrible word, right?
Yeah. So,
right, okay.
So we are therefore duty-bound to call whatever kind of building these people are detained in, we must call them a camp.
Okay.
Repeatedly.
Definitely.
Just to trigger
I'm up for that.
the lefties.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Yeah.
So it's incredible, isn't it, that you've got also these people who will occasionally, notwithstanding your ruling on what the Immigration Act actually says, who will always say, but they're allowed to come here and claim asylum because that's within the bounds of international law. Well, actually it isn't, because they are illegal, they are worthy of being detained, they are actually destined to be detained, but what won't happen to them is that they will be sent back. You might remember, talking about irregular travel, Yvette Cooper, up until recently, until Friday actually, was the Home Secretary. She issued a statement on the 4th of August in which she said that they had detained the first people who had come here under the new rules, and that she would give us regular updates as to what they were doing. She gave us no updates for a month, and then the only update she gave us was that she wasn't doing the job anymore, and now she's off to be Foreign Secretary.
Yes, imagine the links she's going to forge with nations around the world. Imagine when she bowls into some grand kind of building in a far-flung land to sit down and negotiate on behalf of the United Kingdom what people might think as she comes through the door and then opens her mouth.
It's so depressing, isn't it? I mean, the story on the front page of the Times today says that Shabana Mahmood is going to warn these various countries around the world that they will have their visa programme suspended with us if they don't do the right thing. I think we've got a clip of her saying how this is going to work. Shall we check it out?
I have one top priority in my job as Home Secretary, and that is to secure our borders. And so today I've been talking to our Five Eyes partners about what more we can do to work together to make sure that our borders are secure and that our citizens feel safe. We think that there is interesting space for collaboration, particularly on how we deal with countries who do not take their citizens back. So making sure that we are able to return out of our countries people who have no right to be in our countries and send them back to their home country. So for the countries that do not play ball, we've been talking about how we can take much more coordinated action between the Five Eyes countries. And for us, that means including possibly the cutting of visas in the future, just to say, you know, we do expect countries to play ball, play by the rules, and if one of your citizens has no right to be in our country, you do need to take them back.
So let's just examine what she actually said, that including the possibility of cutting the visas. Including the possibility of cutting the visas, i.e. we're not going to do that. We're just going to say we might do it with the hope that you will go, oh, OK, then in that case we'll take all these scumbags back. They're not going to do it, are they?
When she stands there spouting...
Why is she looking to the side as well? Does she not know where the camera is? See, the camera's there. It's like me going like this. I'll just talk to you over here, Peter. How do you think that's going to go? I may come up with an idea at some point or other which will never be actually in any way actually actioned. But here I am. I'm the new Home Secretary and I know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, well, perhaps, can I look at you now, please?
Yes.
Can I? Thank you. Right. I don't think she believes herself.
No.
Because she's certainly not convincing anyone else, is she?
Absolute BS, don't they?
They really do. But another
I'd like
thing...
to swear, but I was told off for swearing before I went away, so I'm trying to try not to do it.
Quite right.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that has triggered the lefties since Friday, which is, quite frankly, hysterical, they're talking about this move to the right by Starmer, right? OK? It's utterly laughable. Open up the homepage of the Labour Party website.
Yes.
All right, don't. I've done it so you don't have to, listeners and viewers, right?
I'm not sure I'd like to.
No, you really... I do these things for you.
Thank you.
In the name of research.
Yeah.
And it opens up saying Labour Party is a socialist party.
Yes.
There is no move to the right.
No.
It's just the lefties getting their knickers in a twist once again because, of course, Ange has had to walk because she got the tin tack.
I was thinking, I have to say this to you, I was imagining over the course of the weekend Ange standing on the pavement outside Admiralty Arch, watching as they removed all of her furniture out of the Grace and Favour apartment and moved David Lammy's stuff in. Yeah. Can you imagine how annoying that would be?
Well, can you imagine how terrifying it would be that David Lammy is only a heart attack away from being the Prime Minister of this country? I'm not going to wish ill upon Mr Starmer, of course. Right. I just wish he'd have an alternative
The only
job.
move to the right that Starmer's had is dressing to the right, I suspect.
Yes,
with,
quite possibly.
With reference to Lord Ali. We've got another Shabana Mahmood clip. Here she is. Now, here's another thing, right, that's really annoyed me since Friday, is we keep hearing this narrative that, oh, she's very tough, you know, very hard, this woman, she's brilliant. You know, she actually, that idiot, what's his name, Darren Jones, put out a tweet yesterday saying, well, she sorted out the prisons crisis. Sorry, I must have missed that. They released 26,000 people onto the streets of Britain who shouldn't have been on the streets because they're criminals, right? And then some of them had to be taken back in. Meanwhile, the prisons are still full. How has she solved the prisons crisis?
And why did they have to be taken back in? Because, drum roll, they committed more crimes. Well, there's a surprise. Who'd have thought that? You let out thousands and thousands of criminals onto the streets and a sizable percentage of them go and commit more crime.
Well, I mean, what do criminals do? I mean, you're a veteran of policing. They tend to commit crime. That's why they're called criminals.
Yes,
They don't do nice things.
Yes.
They commit crime. Let's have a look. This is Shabana Mahmood's latest, after that last one, where she's... Let's see if she's looking to camera this time. This is going further and faster.
3 days into the job. I have a very strong foundation to build on. Yvette Cooper, my predecessor, had real success in getting returns to 35,000. I think that was a real step change from the terrible inheritance we had from the previous Conservative government. And of course, she was able to strike that landmark deal with the French. That's an international binding treaty between us and the French government. And of course, it's not for us to comment on the domestic political affairs in France, but we will be looking to, of course, continue with the treaty that we have agreed. But that is a strong foundation for me to build on as the new Home Secretary. I will be looking to go further and faster because I am very clear I have one top priority in this job, and that is to secure the borders. I I will do whatever it takes. And for those who've worked with me already in government and in my previous brief, I think people can tell I'm not the sort of person that hangs around.
I don't know what she's talking about.
No, it's just
They've been talking about this 35,000 figure since last November. They sent 35,000 people back home. All but 2,000 of them actually wanted to go home, right? And they were not returned to their home countries. They were returned to other places. Most of them are Albanians. Only 2,000. I'm just going to turn back round. Only 2,000 of them actually were returns who had come here illegally from other countries who we were deporting. Because they've been clinging on to this number since November. It's now nearly a year later.
It's the inherent
What's she talking about?
It's the inherent dishonesty about it all that sticks in the back of my throat.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have to give her credit there. She only said, you know, twice in that clip, you know.
Is there any chance of her looking at the camera? I'm sorry.
Well, you know, I mean, people say that, you know, she uses, you know, a bit too frequently.
You know.
And maybe, you know, that's an indicator of, well, maybe, you know, she hasn't got the most glittering vocabulary to have.
She hasn't, clearly. But where does this idea come from that she's brilliant somehow? Because that's what we keep being told. Yeah. She's not brilliant, is she?
Well, none of us are going to fall for that, are we?
I really don't think we are. Meanwhile, in the Daily Mail today, pages 10 and 11, it says Labour's on the brink of civil war because basically poor old Keir Starmer has got a whole load of women lining up around him because he's got a problem with women, as has been explained by Rosie Duffield. And I think he does have a problem with women. But basically, the people who are all lining up to become deputy leader of the Labour Party are amongst some of the most hateful women that have ever lived and walked the earth, and they hate him more than anything. Emily Thornberry, you might remember her.
Yes.
She's the woman who, Lady Newgie, as she's otherwise known, likes to think of white working class men as scumbags.
Yep.
Hates white van man, hates people who fly the flag. There's also Lucy Powell. Let's not forget who Lucy Powell is. Let's play the clip that she made back in the early part of this year.
Rape gangs over this.
We want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Yeah.
There was a real issue.
Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Yeah.
She didn't want to talk about rape gangs because apparently that's a racist dog whistle.
Within about a millisecond of hearing that, I was so enraged that I went onto social media and I wrote, Lucy Powell is a bleep.
Yeah.
Right? Very, very fruity, potty language.
Yes.
I understand people might criticise me for using that particular word, but it perfectly summed her up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that stems from the fact that Maggie Oliver is a mate of mine.
Yeah.
I think that child rape is a very, very serious matter.
Yes.
And do you know what? When politicians and police officers, sorry just to go on to that, but these child rape gangs, you know, is very apposite to what Lucy Powell said.
Yeah.
If politicians, councillors or social workers or police officers allow people to rape children and do nothing about it because of community cohesion and community tensions, then you know what? A nation has lost its soul, its moral fibre, its moral compass. And then, now going on to Mahmood, if a nation fails to control its borders, then a nation has lost its moral fibre and its courage.
And let me put two things together there, because not only have we lost control of our borders, not only do people not regard child rape gangs as a problem, but put those two things together and guess what you have? You have people coming in from countries around the world who don't think it's a problem to rape children, because that's what they do when they're at home.
Can you imagine if we were to rewind maybe 50 or 60 years and our parents, for example, were listening to this broadcast?
My father would not put up with any of it. I'll tell you what. He'd literally be going around somebody's house. I don't know what he'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and I think there would be such widespread outrage,
revulsion
among the nation. That a government would topple within hours. Let alone clinging on and inquiries, or no, we won't have an inquiry, and then getting boxed into a corner and then announcing an inquiry. This nation will not purge itself of the dreadful, dreadful ills of the past in regards to these child rape gangs until every single person, no matter what position they held, no matter where they are now, if they turned a blind eye, if they did nothing, if they obstructed or in any other way prevented justice being delivered to those victims, this nation will not repair until they are in jail.
Yeah. Absolutely right. I couldn't agree with you more. Meanwhile, let me give you some numbers. The migrant tracker today says that since Keir Starmer became Prime Minister, 53,407 of these scumbags have come into the country illegally, and the migrant numbers for 2025 alone have now reached 30,165. That's quite a large number of people, and most of them, by the way, are not actually living in migrant hotels. They're now living amongst us in various, houses of multiple occupancy.
And our pathetic Prime Minister will not regard this as a state of emergency.
No, he keeps telling us how he's securing our borders and sending people home and detaining them. That's why I said it to you earlier. But he's not doing any of that. Let's have a look at Emily Thornberry, perhaps one of the most hateful women that's ever walked the earth as a member of the Labour government. She was on Laura Kuenssberg on Sunday trying to make out that she's changed and she's nicey now. Have a look.
It's such a mixed picture, isn't it? I mean, we're doing so well internationally, and our standing is so much higher. We're back on the international scene. But domestically, things just don't seem to be working. I mean, there are things that we're doing which are fantastic, but nobody seems to know about it. The highest wage growth, building some homes, having actually investing in green energy. All of these sorts of things are brilliant achievements, but nobody seems to be hearing about that. They hear about the mistakes. And the question is, why are we making these mistakes? We can't afford to keep doing this.
Do you think they live in a parallel universe? She said building some homes, and then she ran out of what was good that was happening, and then she kind of settled on investing in green energy. That's it. There's nothing going on there, right? There's literally nothing between her ears.
Here are the latest grammar results. Mahmood 2, Thornberry 2. 2 you-knows each, right? In those very, very short clips,
Yeah.
And when people say
Yeah.
Maybe it's a footballer who might not have the widest vocabulary,
Maybe not.
And he's interviewed after a game,
Yes.
Well, OK, I'm going to cut him some slack because kicking a ball,
Yeah.
is his game. And, he's not really there to be a professional
he's not
talker,
selling the government's, deal, is he?
No, he's not really, honestly, he isn't. But, Thornberry... she's a politician, and as we've seen now with her and Mahmood, they use that as a default when they're not actually convincing themselves, let alone us.
Because they've got nothing to tell us about how well things are going. And also, we're back on the international stage doing great things. Doing what exactly?
Yeah.
What are we doing on the international stage? This bloke Starmer has done a big deal with the French, Macron, whose country is literally falling down around his ears. Front page of the Times today, Macron loses yet another Prime Minister days before protest and a strike. There's going to be a great big national strike taking place tomorrow. The same day unions are actually going to be telling investors to get out of the economy. France is a basket case, and these are the people that we've done business with, right? They're going to take people back from this country, supposedly, even though actually they haven't got the wherewithal to do it. Absolutely hopeless.
One in, one out, boat them all about. Now, if we talk about the Prime Minister of France, who's just lost his job.
The ex-Prime Minister of France.
Yes, because he got voted out.
Yes.
Before he did, and his name was Francis Bayrou, apparently. Forgive my mispronunciation if I've got that wrong. He made a statement to the French Parliament in a last gasp effort to save his skin. And, of course, during that, he said, don't be like Britain.
Yes.
Don't raise taxes because people will flee. And guess what? In The Sun today, it is announced, guess who's leaving the UK to go and live in America?
Oh, yes.
Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran's going.
Wife.
And also Jim Ratcliffe, I think, the guy who now owns Manchester United. I think he's
the
leaving,
Ineos fella.
Yeah, the Ineos guy. He's off as well.
Yeah. So Ed Sheeran. Imagine how much money he's contributed to this nation through taxes. His sponsorship of his beloved Ipswich Town, for example, and all that. This money goes into the economy. It's part of
and he
fueling.
employs people. He pays out money for hospitality deals that he does. I mean, this is a guy who has an awful lot of personal cash at his disposal, which he spends very, very well and very willy-nilly whenever he wants to.
A homegrown success story.
Yes.
A hugely popular musician massively popular among young people who may have disposable cash to spend on downloading his songs, buying his albums, going to his concerts, all that kind of thing. And then when they're at the concert, what do? They have something to eat, they buy something to drink, and so on. These are the wheels that turn, that move the economy. And he is going to America.
Socialists don't get that. Socialists only understand one thing, right? They call it investment in public sector jobs, right? What they actually mean is public money, i.e. taxpayers' money, being put into private companies so that they can all profit to a huge extent off the back of the hard-working people of this country. We see no benefit from it at all, right? Not one piece of benefit at all do we see.
And, of course, they're rather keen on the expression social mobility.
Yes.
Now, whenever you hear a Labour politician mention social mobility, ring the alarm bell as loudly as you can. Because what that actually means to these lunatic lefties is making us all as skint as one another.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually mean anything about mobility. And let me give you a great example of that, if I may.
Yes.
Last week, I was sent an email thread by a listener, okay, who was very keen to speak to me because he'd been in conversation with his MP from somewhere in Nottinghamshire, a recently sort of elected lunatic lefty called James Naish, or Nash, N-A-I-S-H, MP.
Right.
And this man who had worked for 32 years in the police, on the front line, rolling around on pavements with burglars, robbers, drunks, shoplifters and the such like, had, together with his wife, worked hard, and they owned their own home.
Right.
They'd paid the mortgage off, and they were proud of that, and rightfully so.
Quite right.
And well done them.
Yes.
He's in this email exchange with this Labour MP. The Labour MP accused him of being privileged because he owned his own home.
Privileged?
Privileged to have had 32 years of rolling around on pavements. Privileged to have worked very hard, saved hard, paid his mortgage and the such like.
Yes.
He called him privileged. And that is the inside workings of the lunatic mind of a lefty MP.
Let me give you the word privileged as a proper definition, right? You may have heard this man's name before, a certain Ed Miliband.
Oh, yes.
Ed Miliband has been branded an eco-hypocrite in The Sun today, page 9. Do you know why? Because you know how he's telling us that, one, we're always going to be saving money on our bills, which we'll play you a clip from in a minute. It turns out that he boasted in February that he'd installed a heat pump at his house, right? Which he has done in his London home, but of course he's got another home, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Because he's privileged. He's got a home in Doncaster, South Yorkshire, where his constituency is. In that house, he's got a gas boiler. Now, I don't mind if he's got a gas boiler, because in my view, you should have a gas boiler. It's the most efficient way to heat your home. However, he doesn't want you to have one, doesn't want me to have one, and not only does he have a gas boiler, but he charges us for the use of it. So he's actually claimed £121.18 for gas, £47.73 for electricity from the taxpayer, right? And that is just for 1 month, and that's in February of this year. This is a bloke who plans to ban gas boilers from new homes this year, and he wants all of homes, 600,000 homes, to have heat pumps fitted by 2028.
Yeah.
And this is a bloke who tells us that you must be green. Not only is he not green, he's making us pay for his own energy. What an absolute disgrace.
As he drives the nation ever closer towards the 2030 net zero target, of course.
You know that Keir Starmer tried to reshuffle him in his ridiculous reshuffling of the Titanic chairs on Friday, right? And Miliband refused to go. He refused to move. So Starmer is so weak that he can't even move Ed Miliband.
Sorry, please remind me, who's supposed to be in charge of this country? Who's
meant to be Keir Starmer.
Oh, so he should be in charge of saying who does what job, right? Is that how it works?
Supposedly.
Unless he comes up against moribund Miliband.
Yeah, very good.
Who digs his heels in.
I like that. Let's have a look at... All right, got 2 clips for you here. Miliband's appearance on Good Morning Britain months ago on how we're going to save money on energy bills. Check this out.
We set that out for 2030. It was an independent set of modelling that said that bills could go down by up to £300. And what's important, Susanna, is that the report I referred to last week from the energy system operator confirms that not only is our target achievable, but it will lead to lower costs of electricity.
So in 6 years' time, our bills will go down by £300. How much are they going to have gone up by that point?
He can't answer it. So he's hoping to save us 300 quid by 2030. I mean, I don't know if you and I are going to be alive in 2030. I'm not sure I'm going to wait around for the 300 quid I'm going to get for old Miliband, right? Yeah. Meanwhile, I'll have paid 300 quid towards his heating allowance for his own second home.
And as we know, the energy cap
What are we,
goes
stupid?
up.
Are we mugs? Here about, never mind. Keir Starmer's in charge of the country, right? You asked me who's in charge. He put this out yesterday. I think that's quite a good video. I don't know about you, Peter. What do you think?
I thought we were in Ibiza for a minute.
Yeah, it's not so much Kraftwerk, it's more Tangerine Dream now, isn't it?
Really?
Anyway, back to the matter at hand. It's 6:31. We better take a little break. Peter Bleksley's here. I'm here. We've got some more bad news for you coming next. Welcome back to Morning Glory, 6:35. I'm Mike Graham. This from Mark, who says, James rather, sorry, says, Mike, I just got an email from my energy provider saying my bills are going up 4% this year. So much for Ed Miliband's forecast. Well, exactly right. Good morning, Mike and Peter. The UK is going in the same direction as France, and that is a disaster, says Sharon from Staffordshire. And here's one from Peter, Ray, the NHS. He says, my daughter-in-law was due to have a CT scan yesterday afternoon for an ongoing problem that no doctor has yet been able to give a definitive name to. She received a phone call yesterday morning from the hospital to tell her that her appointment has been cancelled as it was now deemed unnecessary. Even her own doctor was shocked at this and is now trying to rebook the very necessary appointment. Just another example of NHS chaos. And with regard to that, Peter, the Telegraph this morning has got 4 in 5 NHS hospitals are failing. You know, what on earth is this government doing? Why can they not fix anything? And why is everything getting worse?
I can't let that contributor's very, very powerful message about that CT scan being... I can't let it go for the moment, because imagine the blight on your life that every day you wake up, you know something is not quite right. Yeah. The GP has confirmed that. He can't identify what it is, and the one thing that is probably going to nail it, and thereafter you can get some treatment for it, is cancelled and you're not having it. Yes. That is a stain upon our nation. The NHS should exist to be able to do exactly that. Its job is to look after the health of the nation. Yes. And maybe, I don't know, and we don't need an answer, but maybe this person cannot work because of the condition that they're suffering from. So maybe they're not contributing to the economy where they otherwise could do. Regardless, no matter what their age or whether they work or not, or school child or retired or whosoever it may be, that is an absolute shame and scandal.
It's a stain on our society, isn't it?
And how many more scans got cancelled yesterday? How many operations?
Every time we talk about the NHS, I get an absolute flurry of information from the ordinary, decent, hard-working people of this country who listen to this show and talk to me on a daily basis, and the scale of it is unbelievable. You know, there is, you know, we keep hearing, I mean, John Healey said it on Sunday, the Defence Secretary, being interviewed on Laura Kunsberg. He started banging on about, you know, one of the great achievements of this Labour government is we've made 4 million new appointments on the NHS. No, they haven't, right? Because everyone that I talk to has had at least 4 appointments made and all cancelled, which means that they've made appointments, but nobody's being seen. And it's an absolute scandal. It really is. I'm sick to death of it.
And when politicians are reduced to playing games with figures, but what we're actually talking about is people's lives. Yes. That is a deeply, deeply offensive, diabolical thing for them to do. Tell the truth. It's not such a hard thing to do, you know, politicians. Tell the truth.
Let me put it another way. Stop lying. How about that? In the Daily Mail today, they've got the top 5 and the bottom 5 trusts in this country, right? The worst hospital in Britain is the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Kings Lynn NHS Foundation Trust, followed by the Countess of Chester Hospital, followed by University Hospitals in Coventry and Warwickshire, North Cumbria Integrated Care and the Medway NHS Foundation Trust. Apparently what we're going to do is we're going to offer NHS leaders extra pay to go into challenge trusts and turn them around. Well, my question is this. Why can't they do what they say on the tin? If you're running a hospital and you're not treating people and you're not making them better, you might as well shut it down, mightn't you?
Just sack them. Get someone in who can do it.
Yeah.
I'm all for people going in and troubleshooting. It happens a lot in schools, doesn't it? Where a successful headmaster or headmistress will be offered a new job at an underperforming school and they go in and they turn it around. I'm all for getting the right person, the best person for that job. So why, if one hospital can be an absolute beacon, is run very, very well and delivers for people, then why not another? Look at that one that's underperforming, get rid of the people that are not delivering and get people in there who can do the job.
Well, here's the problem with the NHS, right? There's a bloke called Matthew Taylor, Chief Executive of the NHS Confederation. And do you know what the NHS Confederation is all about? It's an organisation within the NHS which seeks to get funding for the NHS. And I'm going, well, hang on, you already got funding for the NHS. Why do you need a special organisation to do that? He says it's all very well saying that you've got league tables. He goes, league tables, when thoughtfully designed and effectively implemented, can be a valuable tool for fostering healthy competition and enhancing local accountability. And here's the rub. He says, however, they must not become instruments of blame.
Right.
Do you know what Matthew Taylor used to do?
No.
He used to be a chief advisor to the Tony Blair government.
Ah, jobs for the boys.
I'm afraid
well, there's a strange thing.
He knows nothing about. He knows no more about NHS hospitals than you do.
Yeah.
Right. And yet he runs a company which is a private sort of, publicly held company where everybody who's in it is paid a six-figure salary. And they don't do any clinical work. They're not anything to do with healthcare. They sit there trying to accrue money for NHS hospitals.
And none of them could sort out my verruca?
No, not one.
Right.
And they couldn't take out your ingrown toenail either.
Right.
And they couldn't even give you a prescription for some painkillers because they're not doctors.
And they're former advisors to former prime ministers.
I'm afraid so.
So that gives them a real in-depth knowledge, understanding of how a medical...
What I call them is obfuscation specialists.
Yeah.
That's what they're good at.
Yes. Anyway, is that a polite word for another word that begins with B?
Yeah, or W. Listen, Peter Bleksley and I, we're going to have to stop again. I was going to be in trouble again for swearing. It's 6:41, and we'll be back with the War of the Princes after this. Welcome back to Morning Glory. I'm Mike Graham, 6:44. Let's get a quick voice note from Boz on Shabana Mahmood.
Morning, Mike and the breakfast team. All this from Mahmood is just utter rubbish. All we keep hearing is, we're going to do this, we're going to do that if you don't. By the time they imply that, it's 6 months down the road and probably about 10,000 have come in. It makes no difference who's there. Just stop the boats coming in. That's all you need. Just stop the boats. That's all it needs to be done.
All right, Boz. I'm starting to get in a bit of a bad mood at the moment this morning. Sorry for that. Let's go quickly to Simon Calder, travel correspondent at The Independent. Apparently there was an incident yesterday, Peter Bleksley's here with me, at Terminal 4 at Heathrow, a possible hazardous materials incident. I don't know what that's about. Simon can tell us. Simon, very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Mike. Well, I'd say possibly a possible hysterical or mass hysteria event. This was a really, really odd one. Let me tell you what happened. Just before 5 o'clock, police and indeed the fire service and the ambulance service were called to Terminal 4 at Heathrow. That's the one which does airlines such as Air France and KLM, Qatar Airways, Etihad, and so on. There were 21 apparent casualties, of whom 20 were investigated and found to be in good shape, and then the other one apparently was taken to hospital for further investigation. But after a team with full hazmat kit went in, and of course the crowds were inside, were evacuated, nothing was found at all, and then we had hours of absolute chaos as things gradually got back together. As you can imagine, if everyone's checking in for dozens of flights going across Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and then suddenly they're not checking in anymore, it takes a long time to get them on their way. We saw 3-4 hour delays on a number of flights, including Qatar Airways to Doha. So those people would have missed their connections, I'm sorry to say. And the last flight out finally took off around midnight, a couple of hours after planes normally stop taking off from Heathrow. That was China Southern to Guangzhou, at which point everybody is thinking, so, well, what was the problem? And nobody seems to be able to tell. As you will appreciate, Mike, airports, there have been over the years, very sadly, a number of terrorist incidents. And so as soon as hazardous materials are reported, then everything is treated, everything goes into lockdown. But this seems to be just one of those events we'll just have to put down to experience and just hope that not too many people are inconvenienced waking up this morning in Doha Airport to find that their plane to Sydney or wherever left 3 or 4 hours ago.
I mean, so people weren't taken to hospital? Nobody was really ill at all?
Well, no, I mean, apparently one individual, and the thing is, we don't know anything more about it, and we're only working on one source which said from the Met, which I haven't personally been able to verify, that this was mass hysteria. But since you've got firefighters, police going in, investigating everything and finding not a sausage, then the presumption is that things were okay, and that some kind of event was triggered and everybody suddenly just thought, oh my goodness, we're being poisoned or whatever. Right. I don't know, but I do know it was a mighty kerfuffle just as people were getting ready for that last wave. Actually, some people who were airside past the security queue, they actually got away after this had happened, because if you're on a plane and everybody was there strapped in ready to go, then actually the best way to solve that problem is to fly them off somewhere. So they went. But a right old muddle just shows once again Heathrow, when it works, is really very impressive. When things start to go wrong, they can unravel very quickly. Of course, the rail station was closed. The tube station was already closed because of the tube strike. So that saved them one task, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, listen, Simon, thank you very much for the update. Appreciate it. Simon Calder, the travel correspondent for the Independent. Peter, I mean, I guess it's one of those difficult situations, isn't it? Because you don't want, if there is any risk of there being something terrible happening, you want to take precautions. But there does seem to be a kind of over-emphasis these days on, you know, safety, when maybe their common sense might be a better way forward.
Unfortunately, airports have been the subject of many a terrorist attack over the decades, and they remain a target. All the 999 services rehearse and practice their procedures time and time and time again, because of course there is an air of inevitability that at some stage, at some airport or other around the world, there will be an atrocity. So I'm going to side with the 999 services.
No, I don't disagree with that.
There were systems that they had to put in place. They had to do what they did. Of course, the question is, what started this? What was the actual cause of, as Simon kind of describes it, hysteria? You do need calm minds in an unusual or a challenging or a crisis situation. That's what our 999 service is trained for, to remain calm in the face often of panic by others, namely the public. It really is a strange one. And of course, as we all know, flying and the airline industry is brilliant when it works, but it doesn't take much.
And I must say, and I will take my chances here because I don't get a chance to say it very often, whenever there has been something terrible happening, and it's happened around here in London Bridge, you know, more than once, as you know, the police have always been brilliant, actually. And so I will give them, you know, due credit where credit is due, because one of the things they're really good at is making sure that people don't panic and making sure that people actually do remain calm, get away from the area, do whatever you have to do, and I'm not going to give them a hard time for that. But I do worry sometimes that places like Heathrow, their kind of default position is to kind of not really calm anything down, but actually make it worse sometimes.
We are a bit more risk averse, I think, as a nation than we ever were. We don't have that stiff upper lip kind of resolve that the post-war generation had and handed down to their children like me, for example. I think that's been diluted somewhat over the decades, and people are more likely to fly into a blind panic, which makes controlling a crowd even more challenging. Because a measured stroll away from somewhere is often better than legging it and causing a stampede. But as you say, and thank you very much for highlighting that, in moments of great need, in moments of terrorist atrocities, that is when our police and our other 999 services run towards danger and so many others would run away.
Yeah, and we should thank them for that. So there we are. Coming up, because we haven't got there yet, 7 miles apart, still a chasm between the warring princes, and that's, of course, Harry and William. Peter Bleksley's here. We'll talk about that coming next. Welcome back to Morning Glory, coming up to 5 minutes to 7. Peter Bleksley's here. Do you know it's the first meeting of the Cabinet today since the reshuffle on Friday? It'll be exciting, won't it?
Will everybody know where to sit?
Well, probably not, no. They'll have to pull all the knives out of Keir Starmer's back as well before he sits down.
Musical chairs.
Yeah, absolutely right. Also, apparently BBC Director General Tim Davie and Chair Samir Shah will face questions from MPs on the Gaza documentary, the Glastonbury debacle, and Greg Wallace.
No doubt Tim Davie will wear a suit. No tie, of course, no tie.
And
no
some
tie.
trainers.
Yeah, and trainers. White trainers. And
Absolutely
look utterly ridiculous.
He will. Let's talk about the two princes. Front page of the Daily Mail today. They both grieve for a beloved grandmother. We found the news, I think, yesterday that Prince Harry had flown in overnight, despite the fact that he hasn't been invited, as far as we know, to see his family. He certainly won't be seeing his brother William. But it was the 3rd anniversary of Queen Elizabeth's death, right?
Yep.
And he turns up on his own without really kind of giving a heads up to his brother to lay some flowers. And it's how embarrassing is that? He sort of has to go there on his own, unaccompanied, unwilling to be, I mean, just a sort of a pariah of the family.
Mike, you and I might be at odds over this story, and I'm sure there's a number of your audience are going to think that I'm a sentimental, slack-brained half-wit here. But I'm a dad, and I'm a father of 3 adult sons. 37, 24 and 22. And the very thought of me having a monumental fallout with one or any of them, and the thought, just the prospect of 2 of those boys never enjoying the loving, close relationship that they've currently all got, would break my heart.
Imagine, then, if one of them had done what Harry had done.
I get it. And, of course, William and Harry have had a very different upbringing to my boys, and they tragically lost their mum, and they've been in the public eye, and so I'm not looking to draw comparisons in that regard. And I think Harry has made some very, very foolish decisions, but we are only on this planet for the blink of an eye. Their dad is having cancer treatment. Who knows what's round the corner? Please, fellas, all 3 of you, and I'm not being flippant, and I'm most definitely not being disrespectful. If I knew these guys, I'd say, do you know what? Here's the keys to mine. The fridge is full. The beer fridge is full. Get your heads together and sort it out. It's yours for the weekend, and I hope when I come back you've reconciled your differences.
I take that point, and a lot of people will agree with you, but sometimes people do things which you can't forgive them for.
I get that too. Yeah, I do get that.
And there are many families up and down the country who have got similar problems, who don't see their children, and it's all painful, it's all horrible, but I just think sometimes if you overstep a mark, there's no coming back from it.
Fair comment.
You know? And if anyone in my family had done what he did, and Piers Morgan says this as well, you would never see him for dust.
Okay.
You know? And that's how I feel. And I take your point. I think you're absolutely right to be more sentimental than I am about it. But I take a view that, you know, if you want to go to that extent to lose the people that brought you up and who love you, then I'm sorry, there's no coming back from it.
A line has been crossed which cannot be repaired.
I think so.
Okay.
Final word, because we've literally got 10 seconds. This guy on the front page of The Sun, who's the bloke who said he'd set the Maddie suspect free. Give us a view on it, quickly.
Okay, so Yvette Cooper, she's 39 apparently. She used to work as an investigator for what The Sun are calling the German FBI.
Yeah.
And they, of course, were investigating Christian Brueckner, the suspect. She left that employment, and apparently she paid a fine for Brueckner, some 1,300 quid, so he can get out of prison on the 17th of this month, because it was an outstanding fine. Quite a dispute about it. What I will say, the big headline thought from here, well done, The Sun newspaper. If we don't have independent, well-funded, independent investigative journalism like this, we won't be getting these stories.
No, exactly.
It's really important.
Peter, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Peter Bleksley.